Since a lot of you are reporting in your registration that you are new to our programming, I'm going to be starting with an overview of our education program at DRI and the resources that we have available to you in the classroom. All right. So our program at the Desert Research Institute for Education is called Science Alive, and I'm going to be going over the basics and kind of the options that our program has. So my name is Leah Madison. I am the STEM program lead for our education office. I have been with DRI since 2012. I am actually trained in biology. I am not a formal educator, but I consider myself pretty good at communicating with scientists. So our Desert Research Institute is part of the Nevada System of Higher Education. It's very similar to UNR, UNLV. We have students, but we don't award degrees. And we have faculty members that are placed all over the world doing research in the Antarctic, all the way to China, and even in our backyard at Lake Tahoe. Excuse me, I meant to start this presentation with an acknowledgement. I wanted to acknowledge the original and continued sovereignty of Native nations in our region, the Numu, Nuwu, Nuwuvi, Niue, and Washu, and everywhere. And we acknowledge the places that where we conduct science have deep ancestral ties to Indigenous peoples, and we recognize that these communities continue to thrive today, and that's very important. I apologize for not starting with that. All right, so continue with our programming. What our education office really does is leverage all of the cutting edge research that's being done at DRI and bring it to our community. And we do this in a variety of different ways. You can see from our mission statement that our model is really about targeting educators. So they are the experts in their respective fields. And really, we want to empower them with the background information and tools to disseminate STEM subject matter to their students. And we do this in a variety of ways. Our resources range from K through 12 curriculum, online resources, workshops like the one that you're in today, and special programming. I will mention that everything is absolutely free. Our green boxes are complete kits that we send to educators throughout the state. You could be formal or informal. Really, you just have to be in Nevada to qualify. And these adhere to the 5E model. We've reached over 125,000 students since we began this program in 2012. And each kit has about 2 to 4 weeks worth of material. They are grade band specific, and they range in topics from desert Southwest conservation to natural resource extraction. And what is inside a green box? Green boxes, although they are varied in topic, have the basic similarities. So that way, when you get one, the next one is pretty easy to pick up and continue the same thought process. So we have a green box guide. These are how to run the green boxes, a curriculum binder with about 1 to 7 lessons, curriculum teaching aids that are worksheets, games, handouts, anything that you might need to conduct a lesson, consumable supplies like paper and glue, and non-consumable supplies like books and microscopes. And we also have things called STEM kits. So these are more for our informal groups. And we really pride ourselves in being able to listen to the feedback from our educators. And what they're telling us is, yeah, your green boxes are great, but we need something faster. We need something easier. And we'd really like to be able to use it with volunteers and have someone else come conduct the lessons with us. So we have a handful of new kits that we're calling STEM kits in these topics. And here's kind of a side-by-side of how these are different. So green boxes on the left, STEM kits on the right. The STEM kits, the goal is not just for classrooms. These could be used before school, after school. They can be used with a larger amount of students. They could be used to fit in between units with a phenomena. or kick off a unit, and anyone can teach from it. So really, you don't have to have a background in education. You can teach from this with all the materials that we give you, and you could go as deep as you want. Whereas with the green box, it's more about NGSS support. It's a little bit, you need a little bit more of a background to be able to dive deep into these topics. And then this comes to our online resources. So due to COVID, we really tried to change some of the formatting of our resources, and this had to do with really getting them online. We ended up with a series called Phenomena in the Field. These are featuring DRI scientists, and they're designed to show the variety of research being conducted in Nevada and beyond. Each video is 1 hour long. We also have interview with scientists videos featuring students asking researchers questions. And we have 10 DIY science activity videos geared for elementary students to help pique their interest about things around them. These are all online. If you go to YouTube and search Science Live and find our little green logo there, then you'll know you have the right subscription. And this brings us to some of our special programming. So we have workshops like the one that you're in today. We try to do 4 to 6 of these a year. With COVID, we've kind of changed what these look like. They used to be just in person. As you can see from this photo, with the option to do them online, it's kind of been a little bit easier to be flexible and allow more people to join throughout the state. But check back with us. We try to do these pretty spaced out through the year. So we're coming to the end of the year, but we will have more of them coming up online. And we always offer CEUs and try to be as flexible as we can for our educators. And we do everything from 1 hour workshops like today to full day to trips to visit something cool within our state. We also are currently having an EnergySmart PSA infographic competition. So this is running November 8th through December 6th. We offer prizes, and it's a great opportunity for teachers to get some funding for their students. So if you're interested, please contact us on want more information for this. And I will be sending out this presentation at the end as well. So all this is available to you. Don't feel like you need to write all this down. The last one I wanted to share about is our Nevada robotics programming. So this was in 2018, Tesla selected the Desert Research Institute, a Science Alive program, to receive their education investment funding. And what we did is use this initial funding to start a robotics support program. We really want to increase Nevada's workforce pipeline of engineers, scientists, and technical professionals, the number of students entering STEM fields in Nevada, and the access to robots in rural and low-income urban communities. So these are just a handful of our resources. I have links here to all of this information. If you have any information or any questions for me, please save them for the end, but here's a quick view of my email if you want to contact me later. Hopefully you reach out to us again. But with that, I'm going to stop sharing my screen. I'm going to be introducing our main presenters for the day, but have a couple of housekeeping things to go over. So wanted to acknowledge Nevada Energy and Southwest Gas for their funding to allow this programming to happen. We couldn't do this without them. We have 2 speakers today. We have Dr. Jennifer Willett and her group of, I guess it's more than 2 speakers, but group of students that will be presenting today. I think that sometimes including the voices of the students and the work that they're doing is the best way to understand some of the options that we have out there, because they are the ones doing it. If you have questions, please save them till the end. And with that, a quick summary from last week. Last week, we interviewed Dr. Jennifer Willett and Dr. Alan Gertler. And they went over the basics of environmental justice and provided a real world example of how research is being used to fight environmental injustices. Today, we'll be exploring ideas on using this topic in the classroom with Dr. Willett and her student group Research for Change. So for those of you that weren't here last week, Dr. Willett received her PhD in social work from the University of Connecticut. And she is currently an assistant professor at the College of Social Work at the University of Nevada, Reno. She has done research on climate and environmental justice across the state, including Las Vegas and in Kenya. Her current research project is a citizen science model with youth and communities affected by environmental injustice. And she will kick off the next part of the workshop, talking about steps, data collection processes, and introducing her students. So with that, I'll hand it off to you, Jennifer.
Okay. So I'm going to give a 9-minute primer on what Photo Voice is, because we're going to present a Photo Voice project, and you could do Photo Voice tomorrow with your students. And it's a really good way to explore environmental injustice with people that live in communities affected by environmental injustice. So Photo Voice is a research method, but don't let that scare you. It's really easy to do. What you're trying to do with it is document community needs, and you're doing this with photography. So really easy, anybody can take a picture. Importantly, you are doing this in partnership with community members with firsthand experience of the problem. So if your students don't experience environmental injustice, this might not be the thing, but maybe they could take it on climate change or other environmental issues. But they need to have some sort of experience with it. The point of Photo Voice is to collect data with photography, of course, but then it goes the second step that the point is to have some sort of action to try to impact whatever the community members are documented. And it's supposed to be really fun and creative, so it's really good to use with youth. So common examples, you can look these up. It's often been used with kids in developing countries to document their lives and to advocate for their needs. It's been used a lot in the United States, documenting health disparities to ask for more services in a community. And it's been used a lot with homeless populations to work on ending stigma. So again, you're using those community members to collect data in a citizen science model, but then you have that extra step of what you're going to do with it. So what it kind of looks like, this is not our project. You take a picture of a slide and then you explain this metal slide is too hot, we need a plastic slide. Also, you can take pictures of infrastructure needs. So have the broken sidewalk, but explaining why it needs to be fixed. So it doesn't need to be overly complicated. You're just talking about how the problems impact your life and taking a picture of it to show a visual impact. In case you're wondering, this is based on 2 major theories. The first is critical consciousness raising by Freire, who was an educator, of course. The point of this is to help people understand the issues, how they relate to structures. And you do that through an interview process that happens after you take a picture, and I'm going to tell you what questions you need to ask. The second is empowerment. So it's really supposed to help people believe in themselves and to do something about an issue that affects them. So as long as you keep those 2 points in mind, you can have a successful Photo Voice project. I think it's really good for environmental justice work. If you remember what we were talking about in the first session, environmental injustice really happens when communities don't have a say in decisions made about them. Photo Voice is premised on the opposite. So you're actively doing the other side of that with really supporting participation, empowerment, and inclusion. What do people see in their neighborhoods that they want to work on, and what can we do about it together? So your role in this is you're not in charge. You're just one team member. So you're just kind of setting that overarching guidelines of what we're going to do with the Photo Voice project, keeping everybody on track, making it fun, and problem solving along the way. But again, you're not in charge, but what you want to do is first set an overarching parameter. I think that Photo Voice gets really messy if people don't have a pathway that they're going down. So we might decide we're all going to take pictures on climate and justice. We might decide we're all going to take pictures on dumping. So it doesn't really matter, but I think that that could be your role. You then can build a team or have your students come together and say, okay, this is what we're going to work on. And we all have firsthand experience on that. But after that, they can really take it and run with it after you train them on some basic steps. And once they're running, the key point is that last one, that they can make as many decisions as possible to support empowerment. I know as educators can be kind of tricky, but anything that they can possibly take ownership of would be a good thing. So the general method here, you want to write a research question. So what are we taking pictures of to answer? What do we need data to answer? Then have people go take their pictures. Then we come back and we do a showed interview, which I'm going to tell you what that is next. And that's where you get to those structures and helping people think through this. You can either do this one-on-one or you can do it in a group format. Fourth, you think about what you want to do, and then you actually go do it. So that's the key point here. Now the showed interview, if you look up Photo Voice, any Photo Voice project is doing this interview. So no need to frantically write it down. You can Google it as well. But for every picture that people want to talk about, you ask them, what do you see here? And that's just the basics. What is really happening? So why did they take this picture? How does this relate to our lives? Why does this problem exist? You can ask a fifth question there that some people sometimes don't use. How can we be empowered by this? And then what can we do about it? So to think collectively, like what is causing this? And then how can we change it? So this interview is the key. So this is a picture from our project. And if you think just what is this? It's a train, right? But then it's not a train. The reason this picture was taken was to talk about climate issues in relation to homeless populations, which then causes them to go live in other areas like next to a train. This is amplified because of insufficient services. So it's a lot deeper than the photo. Do you see what I'm saying? So make sure to do that interview. And then once you're ready, time for some actions. Now, a normal thing that everybody does is to hold a gallery like this where your students can pick their favorite picture and write up what the picture means to them and what they want to give back to the community. We did that too. We have some pictures of that. But some other things that you can do, you can write a report, you can advocate for a policy, you can help educate their peers, have a community cleanup day. So it's endless, but it really should be a fun and creative thing that you're doing. So just to wrap up with our project. So I think that the first thing, again, that you can do is set a parameter. The parameter that we chose to do was document slow violence. And this is a type of environmental injustice that is hidden and accumulates over time. So this might be accumulating garbage, it's deteriorating infrastructure, and it's climate change. So we chose to focus on those things. And we also talked about how slow violence is under-publicized. So what that means is that we're trying to get at the problems in your neighborhood that only you know, and that you can take a picture of. So then we can publicize it and start to try to work on it. The community partners who are taking photos are youth, 3 of whom are here, who live in neighborhoods most likely to be affected by these issues. They'll tell you all about this, but then once we have that parameter, we chose with the group to focus on, and they wanted to focus on climate, dumping, infrastructure, and food and housing insecurity. So a little bit different than what I was thinking, but it came out really well. And then the actions are driven by the members of the team too. So things that the team wanted to do were things like build awareness, like what we're doing today. We really wanted to work on donations for homeless people in the winter and to educate our friends and family on what is going on in the neighborhoods. And that's what we did. So you can do this to work on environmental justice with your students. Just remember to set a parameter, have a team or your students that have had firsthand experiences with things, have them take pictures of it, follow the interview, and then have some fun and do some actions. It's going to go in directions that you didn't think of, but that's the point, right? It's supposed to go in directions that the first-hand community members want to go in, and that is totally okay. Go with it and see where the magic happens. So next, or after a break, I'm not sure, we're going to show you what we've been doing with our photo voice with slow violence.
Yeah, I think we'll go ahead and save the brainstorming session until after the next presentation, so you could go ahead and get started.
Okay. All right, now I have to share different things. Okay. The youth scientists are like, what is she doing? Okay. Okay, are we good here? No. All right. Okay, so like I said, we are the Research for Change team, and once this was set up, the youth really took hold of it and documented slow violence in their neighborhoods. So I will throw it over to them.
Hi, my name is Rose Barajas. I've been with the youth scientist for 3 years. I'm a senior in high school, and with our mission, we use the photo voice method to demonstrate instances of slow violence. So our main focus has been highlighting issues in low-income communities, which has allowed us to bring both awareness to the problems and discuss solutions. So one of our most recent examples is homelessness, where we reached out to the community in order to provide clothing and meals in partnership with EG Noodles, which was a local restaurant.
Hi guys, my name is Nadia Lopez, and I am also a Research for Change student that's been with the program for 2 years. And as you guys can see here, this is our team, and I am one of them. I already introduced myself, and I will be introducing the rest right now.
Hello, everyone. My name is Victoria Gomez. I am a senior in the Washoe County School District, and I'm also a researcher in Research for Change, and I've been on it for the past 3 years. Today, just so you get to know a little bit more about our research group, we have a partnership with AmeriCorps. We are funded by the SRCS, which is the Office of Research and Evaluation, and they're based off in Washington, D.C. And we're also strong partners with the Nevada Volunteers and NCCC, which is has their office in Sacramento. One of our main aims with NCCC is to be able to have them come out to the Northern Nevada area, and they are on board with this. So when talking about like what they would do coming out, we as researchers are paid researchers, and this is our job to research different environmental issues throughout our community using that has to do with slow violence. And we create a project and create a presentation that we would present to NCCC, and then we would have them come out to Northern Nevada area, and they bring out their employees who would fix the problem that we see throughout our community.
All right, so Show It is our method of highlighting the problems in our community. So it kind of works like photo voice. So it allows us for an easy way to present our findings as well as being able to propose solutions. So in a simpler way, if you've heard the quote, a photo is 1,000 words, is like the whole point in trying to do this. So the point of taking the photos is to be able to present what occurs in the photo, explain what happens and how it relates to our goal, and then to ultimately propose a solution. So with photo voice, our goal is to highlight slow violence, which is a type of environmental issue that occurs over time. And so it could be sometimes hard to recognize. So one example that was shown earlier is with sidewalks, is that over time they could erode naturally, but as the time goes on, the accessibility decreases, making it hard for people to get around. Cool. And so this is kind of where we work. We're located in the Reno Sparks area. So our team has focused in the Reno Sparks and a little bit of the Sun Valley area. So these communities include low-income families as well as diverse populations with a lot of different people with different races, different cultures, and religions. So what makes our community unique is that a lot of our community and our maintenance of our community is based in community. What we want, we kind of have to advocate for and do it ourselves, like community projects or advocating for new infrastructure like street sidewalks and streetlights. But nevertheless, our community is really amazing. It's always growing, and as people continue to move in, and it's just a really nice place.
Okay, we're gonna go to the findings.
All right, so one issue that we focused on was climate change. So as many know, as fires severely affected the West Coast. So fires limited the number of people that were able to go outside safely, and those who did have to go out were forced to work in unhealthy conditions. So many of the fires were caused by carelessness. So our goal was to bring awareness and educate others on the danger of fires, both to the environment and to the health of the people. So next we have a video from one of our fellow youth scientists who brought to highlight the awareness.
Climate is hurting, your ignorance showing, we gotta get moving, cause cities are burning, and action is needed, solution required, passion desired, so let's get inspired, the West is on fire, temperature's higher, low-income workers caught in the crossfire, let's make a change before our forests get drier, 7 years and 2 months of time left on the timer. Yeah. 8 million acres were burned to ash, thousands of homes are gone in a flash, people be saying environmentalists are rash, while our very own people face the backlash, and most people treating this planet like trash, while some of it doing it just for the cash, yeah, don't they know the system will crash?
So another one of our findings is going to be sidewalks. Some neighborhoods lack typical infrastructure, such as a lack of sidewalks that risk the safety for the community. And this right here, this is in the area that we have mentioned, Sun Valley. And it just brings, with not having sidewalks, it brings many students who live in Sun Valley that they face the dangers of being hit by a car or just not being able to go to school or having to walk on the road. And then 10% of Sun Valley citizens have a disability. They are required to walk on the street that have no sidewalks. So they're in wheelchairs, and it is kind of hard for them to get around, as well as flooding. With the flooding in the ditches, how can you get around it if that's what they're meant for? And it's, if you need to go to school and things like that, it's going to make it harder for students to access their only way of going to school. And also car danger. It brings drivers are more prone to go into the ditches, and it just creates more accidents in a sense that there needs to be sidewalks. And right here, there's a quote from one of the students. As you guys can see, it says, "I see a lot of people just go around the ditch in wheelchairs. There is no sidewalks for them to go on."
Another issue we see throughout our communities is the dumping of large items throughout our communities. Specifically here in the pictures, you see dumping throughout the Sun Valley area. These are properties in low-income communities that are not respected. This is a marginalized area in Nevada. So if you were to be told to imagine a nice neighborhood and all of a sudden these cars are placed there, what happens? So throughout our Sun Valley areas and these places throughout the Northern Nevada region, we see that these cars are dumped there, but they're left there for months. It's not something that is taken away and picked up in the next couple of days. These are left there and seen as a place where people can throw trash, and it's not taken care of. So with these pictures, it's not like those higher income communities where we see that those cars will be picked up in the next couple of days. This is here for months, and no one bothers to call the community and have them picked up.
All right, so continuing on the previous slide, so dumping is a huge problem in our communities. So in our findings, public dumping has included items as small as clothing and trash to as large as vehicles abandoned on public streets out in the desert. So to combat dumping, we plan to have organized cleanups, such as you see here, to improve the cleanliness of our communities, but also spreading information on safe dumping resources.
When talking about another issue that we have here in North Nevada is homelessness. The city's homelessness population has reached nearly 1,000 people, which has skyrocketed between the last few years. As you can see here, there's a quote of one of the students when presenting about homelessness. As researchers, we've created a coat drive throughout the past 2 years. One of our students has created a coat drive where barely used or new coats are donated, and we go out and donate those to the homelessness population over the winter as it starts getting colder.
Another one has been streetlights. They are the main thing everyone needs in their neighborhoods. For example, if you're set to see like a high income neighborhood, yeah, they're obviously going to have streetlights in every corner. And if you see the underrepresented, they have no streetlights, and that's just the lack of funding in each community. And it is not fair to the other communities that do not have streetlights. Streetlights are meant for safety reasons, and is a reason as to why no matter what type of income community it is, they should all have streetlights. Like no matter what, everyone should have the right to be able to see whether you're walking at night, even if it's wearing a yellow vest, but still being able to see and not just bringing your own little flashlight because you can't see. And down here is a quote from one of the students as well. And that quote is said to be, streetlights are a problem. For example, the intersection of Yorrie Avenue and Bresson Avenue, which is in Midtown Reno. A friend of mine was killed on this street due to lack of streetlight. Not only do I find it dangerous, but a community shouldn't be living like this just because they are seen as a middle or lower class in comparison to other communities that have light posts in every corner.
Moving on from the problems we see, now we talk about the actions that we've taken as a research group. So how do you make change? So for the past 2 years in our research group, we've started a chance to bring an unexpected perspective to people who wanted to help. So with this, over the 2 years, we have learned needed lessons and discovered how necessary our work is throughout our communities as we bring awareness to our community about the problems that they didn't see within their own communities. The most important step in our journey has been working together, not just among ourselves, but around those people who cared enough to help. We've been able to work with different organizations and churches who have wanted to make our communities a better place. Also, when finishing, being a part of the Research for Change means working hard in the hopes of one day no longer having the need to do so. As we work through these problems, we want to bring awareness to the community of what's going on in order to advocate for what should be done in our communities. And one day we hope to not have to do this, making sure that all our communities are equitable.
So one of our ways that we've tried to raise awareness is by social media. We have Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, and TikTok. And there we've posted videos. We've showcased our pictures on Instagram to raise awareness, YouTube videos as well, and Twitter the same thing, just to get it reached out. And like I mentioned, our content has revolved around illegal dumping, sidewalks, and streetlights. And we hope to expand our page with even more community problems and get communities to come together and help make their environment a better place. And with this, we have had a gallery and a fundraiser. So I will be talking about our fundraiser, which we went to Walmart and we had $700 to use. and create, and we got toiletries, clothing, and things like that, food that they needed at the Eddie house. And from there, we also created meals, and it was 35 meals that were made to feed all the youth in the Eddie house.
When it comes to getting the money the $700 that we were able to raise, at our galleries where we showed all these pictures that we took showing the issues that we had throughout our communities, we were able to sell shirts. And with any donations that were $10 or greater that was given, the community members were able to have a shirt. So with all those donations collected, we added up to $700, and we were able to buy those toiletries that Nadia had said, and we were also able to give the money back. But throughout these galleries, we had community members coming up in and out of the restaurants where we hosted at, and we were able to talk to them and make them aware of what's going on throughout their own communities. And they were also interested. We had them take a survey where they gave us input and data about what they see within their own communities as well.
So as a sum up for all of our actions, I'm going to brag on them for a little bit. They built a team from AmeriCorps to churches to the sheriff's office to the school board to county officials. And we actually did win an AmeriCorps team to come and try to work on building sidewalks and on a cleanup day. However, this team was supposed to arrive April 2020. So we know, of course, biggest disappointment of the year, they couldn't come. So we've been trying to rebuild that, but they did win this team. We also presented on a webinar to National AmeriCorps representatives on how to use photo voice for research for change. We trained the librarians here on climate injustice. Last year, they organized over 100 winter survival kits for the homeless community themselves, and they're working on that right now again. They were one of the primary speakers at the Governor's Nevada Recovers Listening Tour for Youth. Really excitingly, they spoke at a conference organized by our funders to national audiences, which included representatives from the White House. So we've been really good at raising awareness, but unfortunately COVID kind of stymied the actions a little bit, but we're doing the best that we can.
All right. Since the beginning of our projects, building sidewalks in Sun Valley has one of our biggest goals, but we don't limit ourselves to other problems in our community. As a team, we have been busy conducting new research for new projects. We are currently working on new projects such as the goal to educate others, which is why you all are here today, and a donation drive to build and distribute winter kits to the homeless. We also plan to orchestrate cleanup projects to minimize the effects of illegal dumping and limit hazards for both pedestrians and vehicles. We also plan to reflect on reflect on our findings of homelessness, dumping, fires, but also COVID-19's effects on food and housing insecurity, to conduct a research paper on how to operate a team virtually. The goal of this paper is to be able to unite people from different areas, each with their own perspectives and solutions, to contribute to a shared ideal. All the while, we've been documenting using photo voice to share our findings with the community through our social media.
With this said, we hope to be able to work with all of you as you learn a little bit more about what slow violence is and what us as researchers do as students throughout our communities. We hope that you're able to bring this back as educators back to your schools and educate your students on what changes they can be doing throughout their own community. And we hope to be able to communicate with you all to know what changes you're doing in those areas that you live in. Thank you.
All right, thank you all for listening to our project. We are grateful, and we've put a lot of effort into bringing change to our communities. If you have any questions or suggestions for future projects, you contact us through email, Twitter, or Instagram. We also have an Instagram that we show all our work to our community. So, yay.
Awesome. Thank you so much. You guys have done a lot. I'm interested to see what the questions we have. But so with that, Morgan, can you share with us some of the questions that were sent your way?
Yes, so I am going to start with the questions that are more focused on what the conversation today was about, and then there are some questions that are more DRI specific. So the first question was, is Research for a Change a national initiative or something that's specific to Nevada?
It's our team that is in Reno and Sparks, but we were funded as part of a cohort from AmeriCorps, so there's other little cohorts around the country too.
Okay, great. And then someone else asked, what jobs are available in this field of work?
So many. Leah, you probably have a lot of ideas too. I would say on my side of it, as a social worker, there are social work jobs that do organizing around environmental justice. I always say that no matter what you're doing, social work wise, probably with education wise is too, that when you talk about environmental justice, it tends to resonate. Or if you just like, if you were to go into a community that was having a lot of environmental injustice issues and you didn't recognize it, right, people would trust you less. So it's important to always think about that in whatever work you do. I also say a lot of policy jobs are available here. And that's kind of social science side. Leah, do you have ideas for the hard science side?
I would say that pretty much any hard science can consider environmental justice. It's more about the researcher being aware of the topic and how to design it into their project. So really, at any type of STEM, I believe, should have the opportunity to address environmental justice issues.
Okay, and another question was, can other students join this group? And going along with that, how would they do that?
That is a good question. I would say we're not opposed to new members. I think write us an email and see what's going on. Ours is sort of finishing up soon, but there's also another photo voice group through Nevada 95, which is MV 95. And they are statewide and they're friends of ours and they're just starting up. And we've kind of helped them start up a little bit. So they are actively looking for new members as well. So I think that even if you write us an email, we can at least direct you either to join our group, start your own group, or join Nevada 95.
Another question that just came up right now was, what age would the group start with or start at?
Our particular group was high school students, and we took, we had an application process, but it was open to any high school student. So I guess 14, 15 could be our youngest. But there have been photo voice projects of very little kids, you know, very young. So I think as long as it's okay with the guardians and, you know, everybody knows how to work a camera now, I think that anything would be fine. And we don't always, I think this might be helpful for the younger kids. Often in our group, we don't go out alone and take pictures. We have done that more in COVID, but we go out as groups and to understand issues and to learn about things and take pictures together. So that's not like not allowed with younger kids, if that would work better.
Okay, great. Thank you. And then I had a few questions that were more DRI specific. So Leah, you are probably the best person to answer these. The first question was, when does the next Green Box reservation period open? And then kind of in conjunction with that, how do we order a Green Box or STEM kit?
Those are very valid questions. I didn't go over them because I didn't think we had enough time. So I'm glad that we have a couple minutes. So we have a website. It's dri.edu/sciencealive. And on there, we have a a link that takes you to, I guess I could share this. So this is our website. If you scroll down a little bit, you'll see over here on the right-hand side says educational resources. You click on that, scroll down again, and this is where our reservation schedule is. So we are currently in our winter reservation period, which was from October to December. Our spring or third quarter will be opening up January 5th, and that is from January through March. So the first day to reserve your kit will be January 5th, and that opens at 4 p.m. And then to peruse our available options, you will scroll down a little bit further, see this link that says reserve a green box and STEM kit. And these, you can search by topics, but this isn't very useful. I recommend just we don't have that many. We have about 36 different topics going by grade band. So we have elementary, middle, and high school, and then our STEM kits. And in here you could find about a little bit more about the details of the overview of the kit in each lesson and kind of the takeaways the students will be having. Some of them do have photos to give you a little bit of a deeper dive into what you will be getting. So those are good questions. And someone asked me to put the link in the chat, so I will do that.
Okay, and then there was just one last question. Are any of the curriculum resources showcased in the beginning available to the large homeschool community here in Las Vegas?
So the short answer is yes, but we do try to give priority to our Title I schools. So these cases are available first come, first serve. For homeschool programs, we ask you to wait a little bit after the initial open date to give some priority to those bigger schools, but check back in about a week or two, and if there's whatever's online is open for grabs. And if there are no other questions that were sent through chat, this is an option to open up the floor. If you do want to turn on your video, ask in person, it's a great opportunity to do so. So I do want to put that out there one more time if there are any other questions that someone wants to ask. All right, well, with hearing none, I will say that we will wrap things up. I wanted to thank Dr. Willett and all of the students. You guys did an amazing job. Thank you so much for sharing that. I think that me personally, I'm very excited to see so much enthusiasm and dedication to some of these issues that are happening and just making them more widely known to our community, because our community needs to hear about it. So thank you guys for taking the time to do that.